Hey everyone, how's it going? On this week's video, I want to talk about the difference between mechanical flexion and neurological flexion. So whenever I talk to someone and they hear what I do, they always try to fix or adjust their posture, sit up straighter, stand taller, poke out the ribs, right? But the issue with this is that we try to fix ourselves, but we don't have a real understanding or context of where we are to begin with. Okay, so you have this idea of this desk jockey, right? They have rounded shoulders, they have forward head posture, they are maybe staring at one or multiple screens, and this is kind of this idea of flexion, of rounding over. This is like a negative image in our minds. But the issue is that for most of us, we are not in a flexed position. We are in a flexed mechanical position, but neurologically, our brain biases extension. Why? Because we've trained it that way. So if you look at this video, I talk about how we utilize extension as a strategy to help us inhale oxygen. So whether that's chest breathing or belly breathing, they are both extension-based patterns. They both jam our ribcage forward. So it highlights a mismanagement of airflow. Now here's the thing, when you mismanage airflow and you jam the ribcage forward, what you're also doing is shifting the center of pressure in your feet forward to your toes. So now in order for you to not face plant, because that's what it is, like if you just pick up your heels off the floor and bounce on your tippy toes, you're essentially falling. The only way you don't face plant is by kicking in quads and lower back and neck extensors try to keep you upright. All right? So now you have this strategy of you can't manage airflow, you can't deal with gravity. The airflow mismanagement is now intertwining with gravity mismanagement, and now you have all of this constant tension because you breathe a couple thousand times a day, right? You are constantly fighting gravity, whether you're sitting down at work at your desk or you're walking to the train station or you're standing in the train getting to work or coming back home. You're constantly dealing with gravity, you're constantly dealing with airflow. And your brain has learned that the best way, the best strategy that you have to deal with these two inputs is to extend neurologically, is to use your lower back, to use your erectors to kind of like jam yourself forward, because it has adapted and learned from the strategies you've exposed to it. So now when you have constant back tension, when you are trying to release this like chronic achy feeling in your lower back, right, after you get up from sitting on at your desk for a couple of hours straight, and then you feel that, you wonder why you can't get rid of it. It's because it's not purely muscular in origin. You are only focusing on the tertiary effects of this stuff. The primary effect is you can't manage airflow, you can't manage gravity. And your brain will not allow you or will not let go of this tension until it feels secure, until it feels safe in the knowledge that you can manage these two things well without relying on extension. See, your brain doesn't believe you when you say, oh, I want to stretch my back, or I want to let go of all of this tension, I want to get rid of it. Your brain doesn't believe you because it says, okay, yeah, that sounds all well and good, except the last 30, 40 years of your life, you've shown me that the only way you can deal with breathing and with walking upright is by extending. So nice try, I don't believe you, I'm not letting go of this pattern for anything. And I've seen this when clients come in to work with me. You know, we get them into a flexed position, we get them to round over, and then you can visibly see their erectors popping out of their shirt. So it's kind of like you tap on it, you can feel this tension, this aberrant tension that their nervous system is still holding on to, despite their body being in a flexed or rounded posture. So now the only way that you're going to get that brain to shut off or to get it to dial back tone in this area is to convince it that you have other strategies in play to deal with the issue, to deal with airflow, to deal with gravity. What strategies would these be? It would be authentically supinating a foot. It would be leveraging hamstrings to posteriorly tilt the pelvis. It would be using your obliques to exhale all the air out of your body and stack your rib cage on top of your pelvis. So for a lot of people, if they've never done this before, it's going to look like I'm putting you into a state of global flexion. It's going to look like I'm asking you to round out more. I'm asking you to tuck your pelvis. I'm asking you to get into a ball almost. But the issue is that I need you to leverage certain structures in order for you to manage gravity and airflow. So you may look like you're in flexion, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get you also into neurological flexion. because your brain, your nervous system has adapted to the strategies you've used thus far. Okay? So every time you try to go get release work done on your lumbar, every time you try to stretch, every time you try to strength train the postural muscles, what you're really doing is you're ignoring the strategies that put you there in the first place. So until you learn how to manage airflow, until you learn how to stack your bones in an efficient manner, this tension is never going to go away. Like, you'll go to a massage therapist and say, and this isn't a knock on the profession, this is just in terms of problem solving. I'm asking you to look a little deeper into the root causes of a lot of these things. You'll go to see somebody to release tension on your lower back, and you'll feel great afterwards, right? You do an awesome stretching session, you feel great afterwards, and then a couple of hours later, it comes back. Sometimes it comes back even worse than before. Why? Because you tried to get rid of tension, this tension that's keeping you safe, but you didn't offer any solution to the original problem. So it says, all right, this lower back thing is no good for me anymore. Like, it's always pissing me off. It's always reminding me that I can't do certain things. And then you say, you know what? I'm just gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna tackle this beast head on. I'm gonna release it. I'm gonna do gua sha. I'm gonna do massage. I'm gonna stretch, do whatever, foam roll it to death. But then you never take the time to reintroduce new strategies. So the nervous system is like, well, what do you want me to do? You want me to let go. You want me to release this tension, but you're not offering any solution either. So you know what? Screw you. I'm going to go back to the next best thing. I'm going to go back to what has worked for us for so many years, sometimes 20, 30 years, right? Because no one is looking at this piece of the puzzle. And that's why it's really important. That's why I talk to people, and when I tell them what I do, I say, I reprogram your nervous system. And I literally mean that. Because I am not allowing you to simply get rid of tension. Getting rid of tension hasn't worked thus far, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video, right? You need to understand how to better leverage the structures you have and use them in a way that they were designed to be used. Because most of the time people are just stretching your hamstrings or stretching this or stretching that, but they're still not dealing with the original problem. How do you get air into your lungs efficiently? And how do you stack your bones in such a way that they can manage gravity without using aberrant tension, right? So this is the reason why a lot of people will try many different things to try to relieve chronic muscle tension, and they won't get anywhere because all they're doing is focusing at the muscular level. They're focusing on structures. We are not purely mechanical beings. We have intent. We have a nervous system, we have neurological considerations, we have emotional trauma. We have all of these things stacked together, and no one thing is the solution for movement dysfunction, right? Just because you're gonna strengthen your posterior chain, just because you're gonna strengthen your lats, just because you're gonna do all of this pattern improvement, you're still looking at it from a muscular perspective. You're not looking at it from a sensorial experience. You are not looking at it from a mechanism to regulate internal air pressure. You're not considering gravity. You're not considering how the position of one structure influences something that's seemingly a mile away. All of these things have to work well with one another, and that's the thing that I think most people are missing. That's why people don't even recognize this issue of differentiating between mechanical flexion and neurological flexion. Most of the time when people come to see me and I assess them on the table, they may look like they're in mechanical flexion, but their nervous system is extended. So I have to get the nervous system to also coincide with the mechanical position of flexion. And then we're using this new paradigm to help troubleshoot movement pattern. So what most people will understand or recognize as, say, a lunge or a single leg deadlift or what have you, that's later. Those are the skills that we stack on top of dealing with airflow and gravity. Because unless you can get all of the pieces of your body, all the pieces of your nervous system to work in a holistic manner, you're just putting Band-Aid solutions on everything. And you're hoping for the best. And then you get frustrated and you wonder why these things or these approaches don't work for you. Right? They just will never work because you're only dealing with a piece of the issue. And this doesn't just apply to lower back. You have to take this into consideration when dealing with knees, hips, feet, shoulders, neck, pretty much everything else, right? So stay tuned for next week's video. I'll be breaking down common issues regarding knee instability and why just focusing on the VMO will get you nowhere. All right? See you next Tuesday.